Okay, welcome to the fan show. Tottenham 3, Southampton 1. Snooze fest at the Lane, but we got our 3 points. Seems like we should have got away with it with no injury. Solanke maybe a dead leg, could be the only dangerous one. It wasn't a joy to watch, but we got the 3 points. That's all that matters. And now I will be talking to Tottenham fans from all around the world to hear how they feel about it and whether they can add anything in terms of what we just watched compared to what I did. And of course, I'm sure we'll be talking as well about the game coming up. So first of all, let me hold on. I've got to do a little bit of jiggery pokery here. But let's start in the Republic with Steve.
Oh, you caught me by surprise there. I was just nearly asleep just after the game.
Well, I'll tell you why. We're going to have to fill some time, but I'll tell you why. Basically, Chris sends me a list every week. He tells me in what order he wants me to speak to people. But he said, and it's not like I didn't know this because, I release Spurs content every day. And, Tottenham fans are so disinterested in Spurs content at the moment.
No, I mean, I was tired after what you said, a snooze fest. I was
but
I was trying to be humorous and it backfired.
No, it didn't. But what I mean is, two of the 6 people who I have on my list, 2 of them haven't turned up. And therefore, Steve, you've gone from number 3 to number 1. Congratulations.
Oh, fantastic. A bit like us moving up to 13th. Very exciting.
It's heady heights. It's wonderful days. Yeah. So, Steve,
right.
What did you make of that?
Well, like you said, it was extremely slow pace for most of the game. What can you say, really? I don't think it bodes well for Thursday, before we get on to Thursday. I was hoping for a better performance, a slicker, faster performance, more goals from us, and not conceding that typical, back post goal like we conceded towards the end of this game. It's a constant theme, as you pointed out. I was surprised Ange didn't take off Solanke earlier, like when he took off Son. He was struggling. I mean, I know he puts in a lot of. He chases back a lot. There's a lot of covering. We mention this every game, but I'm sorry, but he lost virtually every 50-50 ball, whether it was in the air or on the ground. His hold-up play was pretty abysmal. When he did get a chance on goal, he made it himself, which was very well done. He didn't actually finish. Keeper saved it. And the second one blasted over into the stands. It doesn't, give you much confidence going in, as I say, to this game on Thursday, which is a must-win game. And as you say, I totally agree, for at least a couple of goals. But at least Brendan Johnson stepped up to the plate. They weren't tap-ins. He took his goals very well. And yet again, for me, man of the match for us, if it's such a game you can call praise someone, Bergvall again. He reads the game so well. He's not a dirty player. He does get stuck in because his timing, the reading of the game is superb at such a young age. We just need 4 or 5 other players like him.
There's an intensity about him that a lot of the other players just aren't showing at the moment, isn't there?
That's right. Yeah, completely. Exactly. Yeah, there's no intensity. There's no closing people down. As like I said, it was like watching an All-Stars game or a what do you call it? just people. Yeah, people haven't played for years. The tempo was texting with a friend of mine. I said, you know what's going to happen. If we don't get the third goal and kill it off, they'll get a goal and it'll be nerves. I think it's exactly what happened. But it's not difficult to predict because we've done this in the past and even ended up losing. So after being 2-0 up, so yeah, nothing to get excited about.
Do you think what I was saying? Do you agree? Do you think that they're holding off 15 to 20% of their desire because they don't want to get injured for these games?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I do think so. They're not, as you say, not a lot of pace on. They're not reclosing people down except Bergwall. I mean, I don't know what the situation with Kulu is. If he's going to be available on Thursday,
he's potentially fit for the second leg, but certainly not before.
Right. Okay, that's a big shame because I think he would have come back and injected as he usually does a lot of.
Is it that easy? Do you think then for them to just turn it on suddenly for Thursday night if they've been jogging around for a few games? I don't know.
But this is the reason I thought it was very unusual and strange that he didn't take off Solanke a lot earlier. I mean, even before the dead leg and after the dead leg, I thought, well, okay, he was limping. And because when he was dropping so deep, there was a couple of times he actually reclaimed the ball, which was fine, passed it out wide, and then there was no one in the middle. Whoever was on the Odeberg or Spence who was overlapping, they had to slow the game down because there was no one up front. He's having to drop too deep. Difficult one.
What team would you play? Give me your 1 to 11 if you can for Eintracht Frankfurt.
Well, I'd go with obviously Vicario, Porro on the right, Romero, Van de Ven, Spence, and then in the middle, Bergval. Toss up between Sarr and Bentancur. I'd probably go Sarr. Perhaps Maddison. He had a bit of a better game today. In the Chelsea game, he went missing again. I'm not a big fan of Maddison, but we need some creativity. I would drop Son, and I would actually drop Solanke, funnily enough. So, and play on the right. I would play. Give Johnson a game. His confidence must be up. So he played reasonably well. He just doesn't seem to be able to cross the ball. Don't know if you remember the first 20 minutes. He had about 3 or 4 occasions, and they were cut out every time. He doesn't seem to be able to find a Spurs shirt in the middle. So who would I play up front? Perhaps Tell as a central striker, and then Odeberg, or even Mikey Moore on the left wing. There you go. Bit of an extreme call, but
on the basis that Mikey Moore wasn't even in the squad today, I don't think he's going to agree with you.
No, I don't think he will. But you asked me what my opinion was.
I know. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
He played extremely well in Europe earlier on in the season in the other rounds. But probably Odeberg is more of a sensible call, I suppose. But I think Son's looking very tired. Most of the games off the pace. Unfortunately, I love him to bits. Big fan of his, but is not performing at the moment. And that's why their fullbacks, they're getting away from him. He's not closely marking, and they just make one stride and they're away from him. Whereas if you've got someone with a bit more pace, it makes it a bit more difficult for their fullbacks to overlap. So that would be my team for the.
And what confidence do you have going into Thursday night right now? What if you were a betting man, where do you think Thursday night's result is going to go?
If I was having a bet, and not as a Spurs fan, I'd say a draw. They're definitely going to score, and I think they'll score 2. I would go 2-2, which, as we know, is not going to be enough. Well, I should say, in theory, not going to be enough when we go to Frankfurt. We need a 2-goal lead. I don't know where the goals are going to come from. It was the same against Chelsea. We just don't look dangerous going forward.
Especially not away from home.
No. We didn't even look too dangerous today. It's funny, the earlier parts, the start of the game, the first 20, 25 minutes, we were turning it on a little, like you say, a bit more of like Ange ball play. I don't know. Are they gonna really turn it on because it's a European night and it's the last chance saloon, if you like? I'll probably have a bet on a draw, actually.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea. And then obviously Ange Postecoglou still in post. He doubled and trebled down on the fact that he was saying that by cupping his ear the other night, he was just asking for more loudness from the fans, which I believe makes him the first person in Premier League history to use the cupping of your ear as a non-sarcastic gesture. Well done, Ange. So where are you at with Ange? Do you think, is there any chance at all he'll be manager of Tottenham next season?
Only if he at least gets to the final. If he wins the Europa League, I think they'll keep him on. But it seems to me that the players have sort of not down tools, but then they're not buying into it, or they just can't. They can't play this system. They just can't. It's either the energy levels or the skill level. They don't seem to be able to turn it on. They did at the beginning of last season, but this year.
It strikes me that the system is basically all about being able to press and counter press, and that when, for instance, the opposition's fullbacks get the ball from their centre back, that we are right on them, but we never are. We're like 10, 15 yards.
Yeah. Well,
I'd say even like maybe 2 seconds before Son ever gets out to his man. And by that point, he's got so much space to pass it wide or inside
Yeah.
And it just strikes me that you can't try and play Ange's way unless they're going to be right on it all the time. And I guess all we can hope is that, for 6 months now, they've been like, oh, well, we're only going to try in the Europa League. But I wouldn't say that the Europa League performances have been so good to make me believe that either.
No, I was at the last game. Not that it makes any difference, and I will be there on Thursday. I must say I did buy obviously tickets and hotel and flights and stuff well before the last few games. Kind of wish I hadn't now, but I'll support the team until they're out, obviously. And as far as Ange goes, I mean, I'm not really with him, to be honest. I wish him well because it means the team do well in terms of that we continue in the tournament. But like you, I just don't see it now. I just think I'm really not looking forward to the game. It's like with trepidation, you kind of anticipate we're going to get ripped a new one, or because it will be so embarrassing if we play like we did today. I'm quite convinced that Frankfurt will put at least 3 past us, and then where do you go from there? But if we play extremely well and still draw, there's still hope. But if we play poorly and just kind of nick a draw, then I think we're going out. So,
what are your thoughts on the protests today? I don't know if you saw any of the social media videos and stuff like that.
I did a little bit. I did look at it before. I had to do some other things before the game came on. Yeah, I understand that completely. I mean, I take my hat off to all the fans up and down the UK. Obviously, I don't live there. I've only paid out for a couple of games, and they pay their hard-earned money to quite often watch some abysmal football and strange decisions and some weird behaviour from the manager in the last few months. So I understand that, but I understand that their protests are mainly about Levy. And I totally agree, because a lot of it stemmed, although it was going on before the Pochettino days. I do feel that Levy was at fault there with that 18-month window of not buying any new players for Pochettino after he got us to the Champions League final, and obviously got us to second in the league, third in the league, fourth in the league. Did really, really well. And then he was let down completely. So I blame Levy for that. So I totally agree with them. I totally agree with the fans protesting against Levy, and I think it's.
Do you think Levy will listen to any of this and change anything, or it'll be just water off a duck's back though?
I don't think so. I don't think someone like that is really interested in what the minions are doing, or the fans, whatever. I don't know how he looks at them, but I don't think he really listens to them. Somebody like that, not at all. No. Yeah. I don't think he'll step down.
Steve, thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. I was just going to say, it's more likely that he'll accept a buyout or something. That he'll sell the club. I don't think he'll ever step away. I can't see it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, Steve, thanks again for being a big part of the show. Enjoy the game on Thursday night. Maybe you can be good luck.
I hope so. Very hope so. All right. Cheers, Barnaby. Thanks for having me on the show. Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, over to Portland in the USA, and Scott. How are you, Scott? What did you make of that game today? Oh, you're on mute, Scott.
I think your sentiments hit it nail on the head for me. I just couldn't get that up, although I think you were a little too down. You should say, hey, at least we scored. We should be scoring.
But you can't fake it, though, can you, Scott? That's the thing. You can't fake it.
Yeah, but still, you're the host of this massive show of 6 people. So I don't know. I don't know. I didn't even get mad today, not a single time. And that first half was just so typical. It reminded me of Leicester City. And I mentioned that in the chat. Dominant. But absolutely, you couldn't even see a goal coming. And that one we got is so Brennan Johnson. I just can't believe how he does that perftly. And he even played defense today. So there was something to celebrate. He almost never plays defense.
Yeah, he ran a little more. I felt he was more energetic than I'd seen, like he'd had a good rest. Were there any other positives from the performance today? Lucas Bergvall, maybe?
Yeah, Bergvall. I think he really pushed it forward. He looks to attack. maybe in 2 years he'll look way more refined. He's still a little rough. He'll take a big touch, and fortunately, no one's in that gap because he's pushing so hard. But you can just see it that he gets this whole notion, go forward. And a lot of those players don't seem to really feel that. Brennan, I think, today was really going forward. And that one where Matters headed it and he scored, that was a rare goal for him where he was in the mix and he saw that coming. I feel too often he's just passenger. And then all of a sudden he turns up with that same goal almost every time.
Yeah, it was at least the second one was at least a different goal. And the first goal, like you said, he makes that out to in run really well, but it was a brilliant finish on the left foot as well. You've got to give credit where credit's due. Do you think he's done enough today to play himself into the team on Thursday?
I can't even imagine it. I feel, how often has he gone 90 minutes? And my feeling is the only reason Andrew would do that is if he's not planning to start him on Thursday. But, Son, everyone says, I really love Son. I've always loved him. But, he is so off the boil. So often he'll drive down that left wing, pull it back, look for the pass to Matters. So often. I mean, we're so tedious. I mean, watching them go backwards and sideways. I yell at my computer and my wife's like, my dog freaks out. But man, we're so do that. And the second half, that was the big problem. I actually just went and walked my dogs. I left it going and figured I probably wouldn't miss a single thing. And I didn't.
You didn't. Let me ask you a difficult question. If we lose at home to Eintracht Frankfurt in the first leg, so with the second leg still to come, is there any way that Levy sacks Postecoglou and tries to bring someone in to get a boost for the second leg?
I have been trying to figure that out. I've been trying to figure out what is Levy's plan. There is no way you can play the football that Ange has been playing and keep your job for the next season.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to myself, that Europa is the only thing he's got. And I was thinking that if he tied or lost, would he being Levy, risk bringing in a temporary manager for the second half of the Europa? I don't think he would, because sacking Mourinho did not win any more fans over right before the EFL Cup. And I think he knows, I mean, even though everyone says, oh, Levy's this and Levy's that, I don't think we know who Levy is. And I don't think he's going to repeat that mistake. I mean, I think even if we think Ange, if they're not playing for Ange, I think it's more a question that they just can't play that system in the Premier League. I mean, the notion that you can always run to the byline, cut that ball back to 45 degrees, and someone's going to finish it. I mean, how often have we seen that? We've seen it a lot with Brennan, but who else? Dominic is not that kind of guy. I don't know how many goals he's gotten that way, but maybe 2, 3. He's more like give it to him in the air, give it to him in tough space in the box. And we almost never do that. It's so frustrating. So I don't think Levy will replace him if we lose or tie. I think he's going to stick it out Europa. And if he fails, then I'm sure, I think I don't know, were you just, someone just said Levy will take a package. I think Ange might, not say, okay, I deserve whatever you owe me before I leave. I think he would probably almost negotiate it at this point.
Maybe. I think what'll definitely happen is, listen, I think Levy actually listens to the fans maybe more than he should, or certainly to a corner of the fan base, because what he's done previously is, sack managers at the first sign of bad form. And a lot of fans have been frustrated with that and said, the cycle starts again. You always sack them at the same time. Well, this time he's gone completely the other way and held on to Postecoglou for far too long. And so now he'll be like, well, it doesn't work your way either. So from now on, I'll just be exactly who I have always been.
Possibly. I think he knows that I don't know what his assistants are like. And I think that's the biggest problem with Ange. He just seems like an island every game, every press conference. I mean, you mentioned it, I don't know when, but you mentioned how his press conferences, he kind of wins you back over a little.
Yeah.
But he is not winning me back over anymore. It's just, and so I don't know what his assistants are like. So there's no way. I don't think Levy would go with Ryan Mason again. I think he would go with that. He'd probably go with that guy. I don't know.
Matty Wells.
Matty Wells. He's the second in command.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since they're not all loyal, except maybe what is his meal, I think they're all just gonna go. Mason may stay. I don't know. I don't think he wants to risk it.
Okay, just before I let you go, I'm going to ask you for a prediction for our game against Eintracht Frankfurt at home on Thursday night.
Oh God, this is what I hate when Chris does this, the prediction thing. I think we're actually gonna win it, that game. And I don't think we're gonna win it convincingly. It might be a 2-1 or a 1-0. I'd probably say a 2-1.
Okay.
And then we'll go back there, and I'm not gonna be a negative Ned and just say, oh yeah, we're gonna lose, because I feel like that's just so reactionary with this comment thing. Just it's so negative. I mean, and that's what I appreciate about you. You don't really go that negative. Yeah, you don't get excited about the goal, but truly, I did not get excited either. I watched that goal go in, and I was like, oh.
I was pretty negative against Chelsea.
Oh, I couldn't even watch it. I teach here in the
You did the right thing.
Never went back and watched it.
You did the right thing. Okay, so you say we're gonna win. Good news. All right. Well, listen, thanks for being a part of the show, and let's talk after that victory on Thursday night.
Okay.
Cheers, Scott. See you
ya.
later. Bye bye. Okay, next up is Stu. How are you, Stu?
Hey. You're right, Barney. Yeah, doing well. I'm happy. How's things for you? Feeling a little bit better?
I'm
Slightly.
a little bit like apathetic about today. Listen, the thing that I'm really grabbing onto is, are the players feeling as apathetic as I am in the Premier League? And if so, fine, but you've got to bring it on Thursday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there on Thursday as well, and I can't wait. I'm nervous as hell, but I can't wait. We've got to go and take it with both hands. We need the fans to come again, as they did against Alkmaar at home. I thought that was probably our best home atmosphere of the season, where, in my opinion, sorry for the lighting, by the way.
It's all right. It looks quite artistic.
It's really bright outside, and it makes me look a lot darker, which is probably a good thing for everyone watching.
Were you at the Alkmaar game then?
No, I wasn't at the home game for Alkmaar, but at least as much as it came across on telly for that one, I thought it sounded a lot better. I've only been to a few home games this season, but yeah, I'll be looking forward to Thursday. I think we can do Frankfurt. I've watched them.
Stu, sorry to interrupt, but do you think that this group of players have what it takes to deal with the pressure of having to play their best in these one-off games suddenly? I mean, I know they're two-legged games, but do you know what I mean? Like where it's like because if we lose by 3, then it's done.
I mean, unfortunately, we could ask that same question of the last 17 years.
True. And the answer is no.
I've got to believe, but I'm an eternal optimist, and I'm a bit of an old school fan, or at least in my eyes, I believe in backing the players, backing the manager to the hilt until they're not there anymore. Of course, I have my opinions on who I prefer or don't think are doing a good job, but my attitude is back it all the way, be as positive as possible. And of course, it hurts like hell, when you see poor performances, poor results. There's a lot of context to look at. I do believe that, but we're kind of past that at this stage of the season. At this stage, we just got to go for it. And that's the attitude I'm taking in on Thursday. I think we'll be all right. I've watched Frankfurt. Sorry. You
go. Go. Tell us about Frankfurt.
Yeah, I've watched them the past couple of games. I've seen them on and off before that. They've got a couple of dangerous players. Ekitike. I'm definitely. Yeah. He's definitely a dangerous player, although very kind of a little bit. What's the word? Kind of
inconsistent in and out.
Yeah, blows hot and cold, but he's definitely got talent, and they've got some good players. But we can definitely match them in terms of ability. As you say, the danger is, can we match them in terms of attitude? And that's where it will be won or lost.
Okay. I guess the thing for me trying to stay positive about, the amount of pressure we basically put on ourselves for this one tournament is it's kind of never happened before that I can remember, which is like actually maybe since 1991, actually, which is when Spurs won the cup in 1991. Throughout that entire cup run, the pressure was so huge because Tottenham were going bankrupt. They needed a sale. They needed to sell Paul Gascoigne to stay afloat. And at the same time, Venables, was trying to find someone to buy out Irving Scholar, who was the chairman at the time, and ended up doing the deal with Alan Sugar. And it was basically deemed in the press as, Spurs have to win the cup or they might go bust. Well, this is the first time maybe since then where there's been something so single-minded where it's like it's all this one tournament and the entire kind of short-term future of Tottenham Hotspur as a club, as well as Ange Postecoglou as a manager, will all come down to whether we can do that. Now, people might be screaming at me, well, what about the Champions League? It's different because in the Champions League final year, we were also fighting to get into the Champions League through the league. So, there was a half and half measure about it. So when I try and stay positive, I think maybe the players have just totally, zoned out of the Premier League and are just like, don't get me injured and I'm going to be totally up for it for that game.
I do think there's been at least an element of that, if not it being a significant factor. Today, you could see they were not going into every tackle, every kind of duel all the way. And, that is understandable to a degree. We did beat them. That's the most important thing. We had to win. We did win. Okay, you can argue that there's lots of things to not be happy about the performance, but honestly, no one remembers the performance. When you're looking back at results in the future, you just see the win or the loss or the draw. So we won. We go into Frankfurt with a win. And look, if the fans, including me, show up and really back the team and give them that 12th man boost, as we haven't a lot of the time, I believe that is also going to make a difference. And the players have to react to that. There's just no choice at this point.
I need to ask you, Stu, about our captain, Sonny. Where do you stand with him on Thursday?
Yeah, I've had some good conversations with Chris, who obviously, backs Sonny to the hill. And I understand that he's been a great servant to us, 450th game, I think it was today. Yeah. To be honest with you, I've been saying for the past 3 seasons that, he has been on the decline. I think although he's not all about pace, his other attributes do a lot better when he has that pace, of course. And it's obvious that he's lost that yard, as the phrase goes. I'm at 50-50 whether I would start him on Thursday. He is our captain. I do think it's not sending a great message to not start him in a way at this point. But if he didn't start, I would understand why. Because although statistically he's done okay this season, he's provided quite a lot of goals and assists. But on the pitch and the eye test, especially what you guys were talking earlier with pressing, he doesn't. When Ange wants to play the way he wants to, Sonny doesn't fit into that anymore. And so I'm sad to say that, because I do love Sonny, and I think we all do as Spurs fans.
I kind of think, ironically, where he would really be great is if he came on, 65, 70 minutes in and there was space in behind, and therefore the extra yard of pace wouldn't be so important anymore.
I agree with that. I think if he stays next season, which I expect he will because of the Korean effect and the money that he brings in, but if he stays next season, I'd hope that he will be more of a squad rotation player. He still has that ability, and as you say, when games are stretched a little bit and he has fresh legs, that's where I see he could be at his most dangerous.
All right, so you've watched a bit of Eintracht, and obviously you're going to be there on Thursday night. So tell us, what is your starting 11 for the Thursday night game?
Very similar to Steve's, I think. Obviously Vic in goal. I agree with you in terms of Spence at left back. I think that Udogie hasn't come back to the level that he has shown us in the past, although not so much this season. And I think Spence has done really well, better for us on the left than he has on the right. So I agree with that. Porro does give us a lot going forward. If you can just rein in, leaving those enormous gaps that Spence doesn't seem to leave as much. Obviously, Mickey and Romero in the middle. And I saw a lot of people saying, well, why wasn't Mickey playing? But we've got to remember, we're not on the training pitch every day. We don't know. And we also don't know how he responded to his last game. He's missed such a lot of football, and we know how careful they're being with him. I get it. You know, I'd rather have seen him play, of course, but I get it. So sorry, I'm being very long-winded here. In midfield, I thought Bentancur was better today. So I think he definitely gets the nod over Abyss. Sarr could challenge Bentancur for a starting place. I do like Sarr, but again, he's had a bit of a slightly inconsistent run, but I think he's looked really fresh off the bench. So I think Bergvall, Bentancur, sorry, and
Maddison.
I think you got to play Maddison. I'm sorry, can you imagine what a player he would be if he had Bergvall's attitude? Like that is basically the ultimate kind of, you know, combination. Unfortunately, he doesn't. We just need him to be the vice captain that he says he is off the pitch. I would be bold and probably not start Sonny. I'd probably have Odobert and perhaps Johnson with Solanke up front. I know Solanke gets some stick from some people, but I honestly, before his injury, I thought he was one of our best players this season.
Yeah.
He has only played a few games back after 2 months away, and he didn't play over the international break. So I still don't think he's 100%. But he gives us a lot.
I'm surprised anyone gives him a stick. He's basically having to try and make chances for himself at the moment. We don't make anything for him.
Yeah, I mean, our summer priority has to be at least one top ready-made wide player, if not more than one. But anyway, I digress. So, and in terms of predictions, I think we're going to win. I think it could be 2 or 3-1. Frankfurt have looked a little bit okay as far as I've seen the last 2 games. They actually lost against Werder Bremen a few days ago. So I think they're there for the taking. We can do it. We need the fans to show up, and anyone that's going to the game, let's be as fucking loud as we can and back the boys. And I don't want to hear like lots of moaning if we misplace a pass. You just got to keep pushing them forward, and that's what I want to see. Agreed.
Lovely stuff, Stu. Thanks so much for being part of the show, and let's speak again after a future game, maybe after Wolves.
Absolutely. Cheers, family, Barney. Take care.
Okay, next up, over to Margs. Steve in Margate. How are you, Steve?
Hi, it's Barnaby. Nice to see you again. Yeah, I'm fine. A little bit depressed with where things have been going in the last few months, obviously, like most other Spurs fans.
Has 3 points today dampened your depression at all?
Not really. I was quite inspired, actually, by the first half. We seem to not be playing so many square or backward passes, and we actually got some crosses over. We don't, considering we played 2 wingers, we never seem to get enough crosses over. I mean, my opinion is even a bad cross has to be defended, and they put pressure on the defence. And I just wish we would cross more rather than backpedaling and coming through the middle as we do.
I bet Dominic Solanke wishes we'd cross more as well. Who impressed you? Who impressed you for Spurs today?
Well, Bergvall did. He impresses me every game. He didn't seem 100% fit the last game, but we're fortunate, I think. People keep going on about the injuries, but if it weren't for the injuries, Bergvall, Gray, and even Spence probably wouldn't have been getting half the matches that they are.
True.
And them 3 have been our best players.
True, but is that not something that also doesn't look good on Ange?
Yeah, well, Ange he's a strange one. I've always backed Ange. I've always been of the opinion, especially when how far we decline, that it's going to take 2 to 3 seasons before we start improving. But it does annoy me. He just will not engage with the players during the game. He just goes up and down the touchline with his hands in pockets, shaking his head. And not only that, he doesn't engage with his coaches. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen him discussing tactics with the coaches. I mean, most games, a team will go a goal down, and you see the manager, the team, discussing things like with their coaches. He just doesn't seem to do that for some reason.
No, he's quite unique when it comes to that side of it. Do you're a bit of an older fan like me? Do you envisage any situation which Ange Postecoglou is still the manager next season?
the only way he could is, I strongly believe, if we win the cup, if we win it and we're in Europe next year, that is progression. However, if we get knocked out, we haven't progressed in the 2 seasons he's been with us at all. In actual fact, we've probably gone backwards. So it's 50-50. And not only that, who are we going to get in? You know, there's a lot of managers that I don't think will come to Tottenham, whether it be because we're not in Europe or because they're scared of leaving, not investing or backing them. I think it's going to be very hard to get a decent manager in, to be quite honest.
So I've been saying the whole time that if he wins the Europa League, then of course, you know, give the man a statue and he can stay. One thing though, just as a caveat to that, which I find difficult to imagine, is we win the Europa League and then we play our first game at home next season and we're playing, I don't know, someone who comes up, maybe Sheffield United or something, and then we concede in the first 10 minutes a goal where they get a cross in that nobody tries to stop and we don't mark the back post, which is the goal that we concede every game. Or if we don't concede a goal from it in each game, we certainly concede about 3 of those chances. And the goal today against Southampton was just laughably bad, where the guy can just dink in a cross because no one's trying to stop it. It happened a few times. Dibbling did it once in the first half as well. And then Fernandes at the back post doesn't even have to head it in because he's got so much time. He can chest it down and half volley it in. And I have to say, that's where I think that's the only way where I would worry. Sorry to interrupt. But that's the only place where I would worry that it would be a bit like Ten Hag, because sure, we'd be in the Champions League. Yeah. But if we keep conceding that goal over and over again, and opposition analysts know, that's how easy it is to score against us, then it's going to be like Ten Hag, and we'll lift a trophy, but he'll end up getting sacked in October and our season will have gone.
Exactly. I mean, what is clearly obvious, we've got 3 or 4 world-class defenders, but they're not world-class as a unit. No. Therefore, we need someone to coach them. We need better coaches, or possibly he's got to get involved more. I'm hearing that he hardly takes training these days and leaves it to the coaches. But it's all very well. We've got really good defenders if they can't defend.
Yeah, Eric Dyer said in an interview that Ange doesn't really do any tactics at all. I mean, I hate to bring up people from them lot down the road, but can you imagine Tony Adams, Lee Dixon and Nigel Winterburn turning in their respective graves, even though they're not dead, seeing how many goals we concede from crosses at the back post? It's like George Graham, the ex-Spurs manager, actually, he would be so frustrated. And I find myself getting frustrated. And listen, I don't want to go back to the days of Jose and Antonio Conte and where it was so defensively boring, but also just can't concede the same goal every single game.
Exactly. And I've got to say, the goalkeeper don't help out. I mean, I was brought up with Ray Clements, Pat Jennings. They used to come out with one hand, catching a cross. And gone are the days where goalkeepers seem to actually control that penalty area and take control of the ball and cross and keep them with their hands. Everyone's just patterning it out, and it just puts us under pressure straight away. So I don't know why goalkeeping has gone down that route, because every goalkeeper seems to do it in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's the continental style. Okay, mate. Well, listen, thanks so much for being a part of the show. What's your prediction for Thursday night?
Well, I'd love to say I think we'll win, but I'm a bit of a realist. With our defence and our midfield, I think we're going to lose 2-0.
2-0. Listen, if he loses 2-0 on Thursday night in that first leg, do you think Levy sacks him before the second leg?
Possibly. I'm not sure. I think he's in the mix of managers and he's not getting a very positive reaction. But I don't think he will. I think he'll stick to him to the end of the season so he can negotiate with whoever he wants coming in.
Okay. All right, mate. Thanks a lot for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Pleasure. Take care.
Bye-bye. And over to John, who's been very patient. Thank you so much, mate. How are you feeling after that 3-1 win today?
Yeah, not bad. I expected it before a ball was kicked. 2-3-0 win, to be honest. Southampton. But yeah, it's nothing more than what I expected.
Did anyone impress you particularly today?
Yeah, Bergvall, but he does that every game. He impresses me. He's really growing. Yeah, that's sort of about it, really. I think first half, obviously, a lot better. But I think really we were sort of going through the motions. Again, players, got one eye on Thursday.
Have you ever seen a worse team come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium than that Southampton team?
Nah, definitely not. And with the, I've been Angie in all season, and I still want him in.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to the point where, if we lost Thursday and he was sacked on Friday, I wouldn't be gutted. I don't want that to happen, but I wouldn't be gutted like I was when we got rid of Poch.
Yeah.
But I still want to see him here. I want him to have one more full season next year. I want the summer, couple of new players. I want him with a full squad that are fit at the start of the season and give him another year.
Can I ask a question, John? So obviously, you'll hear me bang on all the time, and I just was talking about it again about how we concede the same goal. Is that a personnel thing? Do you think Ange would say that's a personnel thing and I don't have the fullbacks who are able to read the game in the correct way to stop that from happening?
Well, I've played football all my life and I still play now in vets football. I've got to a half-decent standard. I like to think I know a bit about football. And for me, it is definitely down to the players. He hasn't told them to leave the far post empty when we're playing. I mean, that last goal today, it was terrible from our point of view. But because it was the last few minutes and they're chasing, they had a couple of extra players in the box, and they should have been picked up by our players. It's definitely a player thing for me, 100%. You can see what's going on in the game when you play, and the responsibility can't be the manager for every single thing that goes wrong on the pitch. They're all human beings on there. They're professional footballers. They train every day. They should have players that they pick up. And they should talk to each other. They should be talking. Two players, and you've got to talk to it. Half of football is in the brain and talking. It really is. If you haven't got that, it don't matter what ability you got with the ball at your feet. So
basically, I think you're right. They had extra players in the box, right? So I agree with that. So the key to that then is, if they've got extra players in the box, then we should have some spare men around midfield or slightly further forward to be able to stop the ball at source. But why? So then my argument to that would be, when Ange is so keen to play a high line, where if you play a high line, the key point is to stop the opportunity to pass from deep. You've got to press the man with the ball. We don't do that nearly enough. And then if we're not able to press from people who are crossing it, is that not an element of them just being unwilling to do what he wants to do because they don't believe in him?
Yeah, possibly. That is possible. But for me, there's got to be a lot more emphasis on the players and what they do on the pitch. If I was told to do something, but in a certain situation I couldn't, and I could see I had to do something different, you take that responsibility and go and do that. But with regards
to I don't disagree. I think what you said about talking is absolutely huge, and I do feel like we are a squad devoid of anybody who is willing to take responsibility. And you know what? One of the reasons might be the players who we did have who were willing to do that, and I would say people like Eric Dyer and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg basically got hounded out of the club by the fans because the fans were like, the fans didn't really understand about that the importance of that side of the game. And I think
not everyone's played football. Not everyone's played football, and there's nothing wrong if you haven't played football, obviously. But there are certain things that you would only know if you had played football.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so Thursday night, I want to hear your prediction for Eintracht Frankfurt.
I'm confident. We'll let a goal in. We let goals into everyone. I'm looking at a 3-1. We've got a good crowd there, good atmosphere, which we always have in Europe. I think the players are going to be really up for it. We'll be on the front foot. And I mean, I'm gutted with regards to, it shows how far we've fallen in the way of we're bigging up Frankfurt. True. You know, we're not playing Bayern Munich or Barcelona.
They did win the Europa League the other year, though.
Years ago. You know, a few years ago, we're beating Real Madrid at Wembley and playing Barcelona, beating Dortmund 3-0.
Yeah.
And that is how low we've fallen. We are now worried about playing Frankfurt at home. I'm not worried. You know, we shouldn't be worried. Put it that way. It's Frankfurt, not Bayern Munich.
I like that positivity. I'm going to end it on that because that's a good way to look at it. It's actually, do you know what? It's really nice to think ahead to Thursday and actually be excited for a game again. I was a little bit apathetic on the watch along today, but to suffice to say, I'll be so excitable on Thursday night. I might have to warn my flatmate to get out of the house because she doesn't like it when I shout too loudly. All right, mate. Enjoy the rest of your weekend if you can, and thanks for being a part of the show. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much.
See you, mate. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, that is the end of the fan show. If you'd like to appear on a future episode, email tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. That's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. It's really important to this channel that we give everyone a voice, particularly those from around the world. So wherever you're from, please do get in touch.